Hello and welcome to Model Dads. Courtesy of Will over at the Plastic Soldier Company, we're going to be taking a retrospective review of their 15mm German Panzer IV and German Panzer V Panther tank kits. Plastic Soldier's Panzer IV set contains 5 tanks, with each sprue having the option to build either the AUS F1, F2, G or H variants, and costs $18.95 or $3.79 per tank. The Panzer V set contains 5 Panthers with the option to build either the AUS A, D or G variants, and costs £19.50 or $3.90 per tank. The Panzer IV sprue contains 41 pieces of hard grey plastic parts, of which 19 are optional, dependent upon the type built, including open or closed turret hatches for the 2 crew figures provided, as well as stowage. The Panther sprue contains 51 parts of hard grey plastic, of which 27 parts are optional, including 2 different hulls for the AD and G variants. A different set of crew, hatches and stowage are also included. There are no decals in either set, but these are available from the Plastic Soldier Company separately. As you can see, parts are very cleanly tooled with no flash and very few mould lines. Fine sprue gates ensure parts separate easily and can be cleaned up where necessary. Unfortunately, the rear struts that supported the Scherzen on some of my sprues were poorly cast and prevented attachment to the Panzer IV's hull. If you find yourself in the same situation, don't panic. An email to Anita over at the Plastic Soldier Company resulted in a swift and apologetic response with receipt of replacement sprues, not parts, 2 days later, which I think is good customer service. I experienced no such problems with the Panzer V set. A double-sided set of instructions, including the colour-coded options for each variant, helps with the build, but there are some useful parts included on the Panzer IV sprue, including the pre-filter air filters fitted to the Model H after May 1943 that are not identified on the instructions and are easily overlooked. Secondly, there are a number of oversights and errors in the instruction sets of both kits, with some more misleading than others. For example, the red closed turret is used on all kits, not just the Panzer IV AUS F1, if you don't want them open. The Panzer V instructions imply that the Panther's development went from the AUS A to the AUS G via the AUS D, whereas, somewhat counterintuitively, the D preceded the A. More significantly, following the instructions will result in the installation of the wrong coupler on the models A and D. To be correct, the Model A and G Panthers should feature the coupler with 7 periscopes protected by armoured cowlings, i.e. the red coupler, with the AUS D sporting what is designated the green coupler. On the Panzer IV kit, there are short marks on some of the upper mantle of the AUS F2, G and H variant 75mm gun that are well known and will require filling. As you can see, the finished kits look good. The first Panzer IV took me a measured 30 minutes and 35 minutes for the Panther. I found it useful to secure the Panzer IV turrets on a doweled piece of wood to ensure a level base when gluing the turret skirts in place. My introduction to the Plastic Soldier Company's kits came with the most recent Cromwell and Stuart sets. Whilst the Panzer IV and Panzer V 2-part tracks aren't difficult to assemble, and you do get a better fit with the more that you do, I can see why the most recent have tracks and running gear cast as a single convenient piece. I've left the couplers open on a few of my Panthers so I can swap the crew for Battlefronts figures to ensure consistency with my infantry. Plastic Soldier's crew members are not the heroic proportions of Battlefronts figures, but are still very presentable, and it's nice to have a choice of 2. As I'm principally a late war player, I made the H variant of the Panzer IV and all 3 variants of the Panther. The Panther is spot on for scale, measuring 6.6cm in length and 3.3cm wide, or 3.4 with the skirts. The Panzer IV is a little wider than you might expect, coming in at 6cm in length and 3.2cm in width, including the skirts. Detail is excellent and, for the most part, highly accurate. If you were to be pernickety, the Panzer IV set could benefit from an additional barrel to better reflect the earlier muzzle brake in the Model F2G transition, and a refined turret that reflects the dropping of the vision ports on the left and right turret side and on the left turret front from April 1942 onwards. But these are hardly deal breakers at this scale and should not deter most gamers. On the Panther, care has been taken to accurately model the characteristic external features that distinguish each variant, including modelling the jack horizontally on the AUS FA hull and vertically on the G, the replacement of the lift and swivel hatches on the Model A with hinge hatches on the Model G, and the straight rather than tapering wedge on the Panther G's hull side bottom edge. At this scale, these less obvious but apparent details are often overlooked in favour of a discussion about the absence of the anti-magnetic Zimmerit paste. Zimmerit was applied to some tanks and self-propelled guns, or tank destroyers, produced from December 1943 to the 9th of September 1944, and discontinued from field application on the 7th of October 1944. Its absence on the Panzer IV-H, and most notably the Panther, is a significant oversight if one compares them to Battlefront's equivalents. However, if modelled to scale and theatre, Zimmerit would neither be so obviously apparent or present, for example, on the early to mid-production Model D Panthers that fought at Kursk, or some of the later Model Gs that fought in the Battle of the Bulge, or the desperate rearguard actions of the Ruhr Industrial Zone, or the Zalo Heights. As someone seeking to model Ausf A and G Panthers, as well as Panzer IVs, in Normandy, the absence of Zimmerit on both hulls rather than one is frustrating. But if considered in the chronological and historical context that these sets represent, the decision not to tool Zimmerit is at least comprehensible. Despite flaws in the instruction sheets and some easily resolved quality control issues, Plastic Soldier Company's Panzer IV and Panzer V box sets represent good value for money. No other kits that I'm aware of enable you to model such variety in so much detail relative to scale for so little cash. Recommended.